And now it's my pleasure to introduce our 2013 commencement speaker. Today, we welcome one of our nation's heroes, a person who has overcome injustice, persecution, and great personal loss to serve as a moral leader and advocate for the rights of all Americans. Commencement is a time when we gather to celebrate our graduates' persistence and accomplishments before we send them out into the world. We bring in leaders who can add insight to all the knowledge our new graduates have gained, inspire them, and challenge them to go forth and make a difference. It's hard to imagine a better example than this year's speaker, a woman who's demonstrated such incredible persistence and courage that it's impossible not to be inspired by her story. Dr. Merle Evers Williams is a native of Vicksburg, where she was raised by her grandmother, Mrs. Annie McCain Beasley, and an aunt, Mrs. Merle Beasley Polk, both school teachers. They instilled a love for learning in young Merle Beasley and inspired her to pursue a teaching career. In 1950, she enrolled at Alcorn A&M College as an education major. But when she met an upperclassman named Medgar Evers on her first day of classes, her life changed forever. They married a year later. After Mr. Evers graduated and became active in the struggle for civil rights and eventually became the NAACP field secretary in Jackson, Mrs. Evers worked on his staff. Together, they endured many hardships and discrimination as they worked for equality and raised a family. But on the night of June 12, 1963, Mr. Medgar Evers was shot by a sniper in their driveway, and he died less than an hour later. The man accused of his murder was freed after 2 trials, both ended in deadlocks. But Mrs. Evers was determined to keep her husband's memory and dreams alive. She lobbied tirelessly to bring his killer to justice, and her diligence eventually paid off when the assassin was brought to trial for a 3rd time and finally in 1994 was found guilty of the murder more than 30 years after the crime. After moving from Mississippi to California, Dr. Evers Williams earned a bachelor's degree in sociology from Pomona College. For many years, she was active in corporate and nonprofit life, holding a number of prestigious positions. In her professional life, she's best remembered as chairperson of the NAACP from 1995 to 1998 and is widely credited with saving the organization from financial difficulties, scandal, and controversy. As an author, Dr. Evers Williams has captured the work and historical significance of the civil rights movement through several publications chronicling the life of Medgar Evers. In 1999, she published her personal memoirs, Watch Me Fly, What I Learned on the Way to Becoming the Woman I Was Meant to Be, which charts her journey from being the wife of an activist to becoming a community leader in her own right. Dr. Evers Williams has been recognized by too many organizations to count for her work in civil rights and human rights. She is the recipient of at least 16 honorary doctorates from universities across our nation. Earlier this year, President Obama honored her by asking her to provide the prayer at his 2nd inauguration, becoming the only woman ever to deliver the inaugural prayer. Last year, she returned to Mississippi to become a distinguished scholar in residence at Alcorn State University in Lorman. She chairs the board of the Medgar and Merle Evers Institute and will spearhead the 50th commemoration of her late husband's assassination later this year. With Dr. Evers Williams today is her daughter, Rena Evers Everett. Please welcome Ms. Evers Everett. All of us can learn from Dr. Evers Williams' example of perseverance, daring, and dedication to the pursuit of human rights. I encourage you to listen and carefully consider how you too can use your life to make this state, this country, and our world a better place for all people. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Merle Evers Williams.
Chancellor Jones, all of the distinguished faculty and guests, and certainly the graduates of this year. I sat in my seat and I took in the wonderful view of all of you in cap and gown, of all of those who are here representing families and friends of these graduates. And I thought to myself, really, what can I say? The speakers before me have covered much of what I think was needed to be said. However, as we all sat here, the sun began to come out. And there was a debate as to whether it would rain on your show or not. And it reminded me of one word: believe. Believe. Work toward that belief, and it will become a reality. And that is actually what all of you have done here. But as I sat in and took in the essence of this day, the full meaning of it, I realized that there's one other word that speaks to who you are and what you can become. That word is power. You have the power within you. Not only that has been instilled in you and your families, but what has been instilled in you at this university. The power that you have gathered from the things around you. And I ask you the question, do you realize just how powerful you are? As an individual and as a group. Because you can make and bear change that can be ever so beneficial to everyone, not only in this state, not only in this nation, but in this world. Power to do what is right. Power to do what is just. I ask you the question, what rests in your heart? What rests in your mind? Today is much more than celebrating hard work, and perhaps not so much hard work, a lot of play that went along with it as well. And I hope you did enjoy yourselves here. I'm sure you did. And from the smiles on faces, I can tell some of you had a really good time. But bringing together all of those experiences and being able to look at the world beyond this campus and find your role in it, and the roles may shift and the roles may change as you go along and you age, but you have been given the privilege of one of the best educational systems that you can encounter. And what you do with that will not only impact you, your community, not the state, not the nation, but the world as a whole. And I hope that as you gaily go about celebrating all of your successes here, you will realize and take seriously the role that you can and the role that you will play for your community, for your state, and for your nation. I was asked by someone, why were you chosen to be the guest speaker? I said, well, I don't know. It's really not important. The important thing is that I was asked to be the commencement speaker, and I accepted. Because I have a long relationship with this university. This university changed my life from a very, very young woman, a young bride who was not aware of the ills of the society in which I lived. I knew about it, but not really. It was a time when the man that I met and married had said, I want a degree in law from the University of Mississippi. My first approach to that was, you have to be out of your mind. It will never happen. And he said, it will happen. It can happen. If not with me, perhaps someone else, and I will take on the burden of standing in the door and say, I am here. I served my country in Normandy. I worked for the good of all people. I pay my taxes. I do everything that an upstanding citizen should do. And I think, and I believe, and I will work toward equal justice. The University of Mississippi has been a part of my life since 1954. Perhaps not the way that most of you think it should have been, but we have been linked together through all that has happened in this state of Mississippi, through all of the negatives, through all of the positives, through all of us coming together to work to see that this will be a better society. Those who worked and who still work to see that Mississippi rises from the very bottom of what people think to the very top of what America can be. And that is what you represent. You may not go into it willingly, but you are a part of it. I choose to think not a part of the problem, but a part of the solution, because educational-wise, you are at the top. Emotionally, that's still being worked on, and let's be honest, we know that. But I believe in you. I believe in the state of Mississippi that it can become a better place, that it can set the example for the rest of the country to become. And yes, I believe in America. You have the talent, you have the energy, you have the resources to shape and to make this be what we know it can be. Of course, there are diverse thoughts. There always will be. But may we find dialogue, peaceful dialogue, to deal with the issues, to not walk away from each other, to find peace, to find some road where we can come together and know full well that Mississippi can shine and that no one will ever again have to say with shame, I live in Mississippi. Where we can all be proud and where we can all know that in our own way, we have paved the way for a positive image of this state through what we have done and what we are doing. I do not regret for one moment those things that happened, except for one in my life that changed not only my life and the lives of my children, but changed the life of so many people, of the lives of so many people in this state. It is important to believe in something. If you do not believe, you are as an empty vessel. You all have the opportunity to believe, and I hope, in justice and equality for all. And you will move forth on that. It has already been stated that parents might be glad that you have completed your degree, that perhaps they have cleaned out your room. They feel they no longer have to deal with washing your clothes and other things that you bring home, that you are on your own. And there may be some of you who think that's what you think, Mom and Dad. I'm going to be back, and I'm going to bring others with me. But you realize that you are now on your own, truly on your own, and you make your own decisions, and you live by those decisions. When Medgar Evers decided that he wanted to attend law school at Ole Miss, it was a decision that most of his family and friends thought was foolish. As I said, Ole Miss has been a part of my life since 1954. And as I look at those things that have transpired through that, and as I look at the press, who erroneously believes that James Meredith was the first to apply, and I certainly have my hat off to James Meredith and all that he went through and others who went through at that time, that there was a history with this institution before that fatal day, when people were hurt, when hatred raised its head. And the connection with Ole Miss has been one that has grown constantly over the years, where we began to talk, where there was dialogue, where people of goodwill came together and said, we can become friends, we can work together, we can build this state into being what it should be. So that historical connection with this university continues on to this day, and I hope it does forever and a day. The class of 2013 will be looked upon as a generation who will be the change agents that many historians will write about 50 years from now. This graduation occasion serves as a timely reminder that change is a natural component of evolution, and how this proud university has evolved in these past 165 years. You stand on the foundation that was solidly formed by the founders of this university and has been continually reinforced by those who followed them, determined to carry the torch into the future. And we know that at times, torches fade. They never go out, but they surge again with a new vibrancy. And I believe that this class, perhaps more than any other, and I'm sure there are those who disagree with me, but you have everything in front of you for a good and a solid future. And I ask you the question, but what will you do individually and collectively to take advantage of all of it and make everything, in quotes, good. There are discussions about what has happened on this campus within the last year, pro and con. But I prefer to believe in the good of humankind. That was not always the case. But I prefer to be positive and say that there are more people of goodwill than there are of those who do not feel that way. You will be providing people in all areas of the workforce to make change for the betterment. Because today we live in a world where jobs can be shipped wherever there is an internet connection, where a child born in Mississippi is now competing with a child in New Delhi. So education is no longer just a pathway to opportunity and success. It is a prerequisite to success. And never has a college degree been more important. And I think you will agree with me, never has a college degree been more expensive. And at a time when so many families are being enormously suffering under economic burdens, the cost of tuition can shatter dreams. But it is the right time to continue our efforts to create a democracy of excellence. And it is also the right time to reflect on the rich history of this university, a giant in teaching, research, community, and of service. It is the right time for celebrating the excellence of an Ole Miss education. You are fortunate. You are more powerful than you think you are. Use that power to the betterment of all people. And I think of you and hope of you, of being as eagles in the sky. It is said that the eagle is the only bird that loves a storm. When clouds gather, the eagle gets excited, while the other birds find shelter among the leaves and the branches of the trees. The eagle uses the winds and pressures of the raging storm to soar high above the clouds, and it glides. They are also able to do this because the eagle is the only bird that God created with the ability to lock its wings in a fixed position, which enables them to be at rest so that the wind will pick it up and lift it above the storm. When the storm rages below, the eagle is soaring above it. The eagle does not escape the storm. It simply uses the storm to lift it higher. It rises on the winds that bring the storm. And I say to you that we can use the storms of our lives to raise or to rise to greater heights. Achievers relish such challenges and use them profitably. My question to you is, will you be an eagle, or will you simply be just a bird hiding from the storm and waiting until it is over? The sun did not come out just to come out. I believe it came out to say to you, go forth, go forward with all of the energy, all of the wealth of information, all of the sensitivity that you have gained while being here, while debating the pros and cons of integration and all of those racial things. You have reached conclusions, and I truly hope that you have used your strength and will use your strength as eagles to pass on the good word, to pass on the good deeds that this society needs. Since 1954, I have been impacted by this institution. Some of it not good, some of it difficult to bear. But all in all, as you look at the entire picture, it has been good. It has been something that I and others have grown to be. Positive, investing in our communities, investing in our state, investing in our children, generations yet to come. We are achievers. And the challenges that you have met here and will meet in the future will simply make you stronger. Class of 2013, let me encourage you to dream the impossible dreams. Don't be intimidated by anything. Be proud of where you are and where you come from. Don't let anything paralyze your mind, tie your hand, or break your spirit. Celebrate your success and stand strong when adversity hits. For when the storm clouds come in, the eagles soar, while the small birds take cover. You are strong people with a strong heritage and a bright future. Let the University of Mississippi provide you with the winds to lift your wings to soar to even higher levels of achievement and accomplishment. So to the class of 2013, I say be strong. Learn how to listen. Don't have a mindset in negativity where you can never change it. Realize that we are all human beings. We are all children of God, or call that entity whatever you wish. But we are. And we have been given the power to make not only this city, this state, this nation, but the world a better place for each and every one of us. I believe in you. I hope you believe in me and others like me, and realize that even though we have differences, we can find a way to come together and make it all work for the betterment, not only of Mississippi, but of all humankind. So my last words to you, class of 2013, is soar. Soar and be free. Thank you.
Dr. Evers-Williams, thank you for your words of challenge and encouragement today. There's a tradition at many universities to honor outstanding leaders at commencement. Many use honorary degrees to indicate their appreciation. our university now recognizes outstanding leaders by awarding the University of Mississippi Humanitarian Award. In 2001, when the first humanitarian award was presented to Jim and Sally Barksdale, then Chancellor Robert Kayat noted, quote, "We recognize individuals who demonstrated extraordinary leadership qualities, including courage, initiative, creativity, grace, generosity, personal integrity, and sacrifices that affect human welfare and create social reform." The second humanitarian award was presented in 2003 to Governor William Winter and Ms. Elise Winter. Governor Winter's with us today. Governor Winter, would you stand and let us recognize you, please? Today, we present the third University of Mississippi Humanitarian Award to Dr. Merle Evers Williams and to the memory of her late husband, Mr. Medgar Evers. In 1954, the year the Supreme Court decision Brown versus the Board of Education changed the course of human rights in our country, declaring all public education entities open to all citizens, regardless of race, Mr. Evers applied to be admitted to the University of Mississippi School of Law. He took this remarkable step, not just for himself and his family, but for all who were denied their right to a good education. After denial of his admission, he committed his life to justice and fairness for all through work as the field secretary for the NAACP in Mississippi. His commitment to justice eventually led to his death, and his death was a tipping point in the struggle for civil rights in this country. Soon after his death, President Kennedy asked Congress to move forward with passage of the first major civil rights legislation, and a year later, President Johnson signed that historic legislation into law. The lifelong work of Dr. Evers Williams to keep her husband's memory alive and to advance his dream has been pivotal in the pathway from adoption of laws calling for fairness to the adoption of fairness into our societal expectations and interpersonal relationships. These two great Mississippians, Medgar and Merle Evers, used their lives to make life better for others. The spirit of their lives is captured in these quotes from Mr. Evers. Quote, "The gifts of God should be enjoyed by all citizens in Mississippi," end quote. In another quote, he said, "Hate is a wasteful emotion. Most of the people you hate don't know you hate them, and the rest don't care," end quote. Their spirit is further captured in these words from Dr. Evers Williams' inaugural prayer, and I quote her at length here. "As we sing the words of belief, 'This is my country,' let us act upon the meaning that everyone is included. May the inherent dignity and inalienable rights of every woman, man, boy, and girl be honored. May all your people, especially the least of these, flourish in our blessed nation." She continues, 150 years after the Emancipation Proclamation and 50 years after the March on Washington, we celebrate the spirit of our ancestors, which has allowed us to move from a nation of unborn hopes and a history of disenfranchised votes to today's expression of a more perfect union. We ask to Almighty that where our paths seem blanketed by thrones of oppression and riddled by pangs of despair, we ask for your guidance toward the light of deliverance, end quote. Dr. Evers Williams, the lives of you and Mr. Evers have been a part of the fulfillment of your prayer that we move toward the light of deliverance. You helped deliver many from the oppression of injustice and others from the oppression of hate. The denial of admission to the University of Mississippi for your husband was an expression of institutionalized injustice in this university, this state, and this nation. As we recognize the two of you today, we offer our regret and apology for that injustice to you, your family, and to countless others. We are grateful for your sacrifice and for your remarkable lives. Today, we pay tribute to the recipients of the 2013 University of Mississippi Humanitarian Award, Mr. Medgar Evers and Dr. Merle Evers Williams.